Let's look at Babel. Let's go to Genesis 10, 8, and 9. And Cush begot Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one in the earth. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord. Now this I have to say something about. God is a soul hunter. Nimrod was a soul hunter. Think about that one. So chapter 11, 1 through 9. The whole earth was one language and one speech. And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shur, and they dwelled there. And they said one to another, Go to, let us make bricks, and let us burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. And they said, Go to, let us build us a city and a tower, whose top may reach into heaven, and let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower, which the children of man built. And the Lord said, Behold, the people is one, and they have all one language. And this they began to do, and now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. Go to, let us go down, and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad from hence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city. Therefore is the name of it called Babel, because the Lord did there confound their language of all the earth, and from thence did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of all the earth. Let's go to 2 Kings, chapter 17, 24 through 31. And the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon, and from Cuddah, and from Ivah, and from Hamath, and from Sepharvaim, and placed them in the city of Samaria, instead of the children of Israel. And they possessed Samaria, and dwelt in the city thereof. And so it was at the beginning of their dwelling there, that they feared not the Lord. Therefore the Lord sent lions among them, which slew some of them. Therefore they spoke to the king of Assyria, saying, The nations which thou hast removed and placed in the city of Samaria know not the manner of the God of the land. Therefore he hath sent lions among them, and behold, they slay them, because they know not the manner of the God of the land. Then the king of Assyria commanded, saying, Carry thither one of the priests whom ye brought from thence, and let them go and dwell there, and let them teach them the manner of the God of the land. Then one of the priests whom they had carried away from Samaria came and dwelt in Bethel, and brought them and taught them how they should fear the Lord. Howbeit every nation made gods of their own, and put them in the house of the high place which the Samaritans had made, every nation in their city. Therefore therein they dwelt. And the men of Babylon made a Scottish Benoth, and the men of Cuddah made a Nergal, and the men of Hadmath made Ashma, and the Atav made Nibhah and Tortake, and the spirits brought their children in fire to the Abimelech, and Abimelech the god of Seraphim. Let's go to chapter 21, 12 through 18. At the time that Jehoiachin, the son of Baladan, king of Babylon, sent letters and a present to Hezekiah, for he had heard that Hezekiah had been sick. And Hezekiah hearkened unto them, and showed them all the house of his possessions, precious things, the silver and the gold and the spices and the precious ointment, and all the house of his armor, and all that was found in his treasure. There was nothing in his house, nor in his dominion, that Hezekiah showed them not. Then came Isaiah the prophet unto the king of Hezekiah, and said unto him, What said these men, and from whence came they unto thee? And Hezekiah said, They are come from the far country, even from Babylon. And he said, What have they seen in thine house? And Hezekiah answered, All the things that are in my house have they seen. There is nothing among my treasures I have not showed them. And Isaiah said unto Hezekiah, Hear the word of the Lord. Behold, the day cometh, that all that is in thine house, and that which thy fathers have laid up in store upon this day, shall be carried into Babylon. Nothing shall be left, saith the Lord. And of thy sons that shall issue from thee, which thou begot, shall be taken away, and they shall be eunuchs in the place of the king of Babylon. Let's go to chapter 24, and we want verse 1. In his day, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came up Jeroboam because his servant 3 years. Then he turned and rebelled against him. Going down to 7. And the king of Egypt came not again any more out of his land, for the king of Babylon had taken from the river of Egypt into the river Euphrates all that pertained to the king of Egypt. Go on down, we want to read from 10 to 20. At that time the servant of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came up against Jerusalem, and the city was besieged. And Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came against the city, and his servant did besiege it. And Jehoiakim, the king of Judah, went out to the king of Babylon, he and his mother, and his servants, and his prince, and his officers. And the king of Babylon took him in the 8th year of the reign. And he carried out thence all the treasures of the house of the Lord, and the treasures of the king's house, and cut in pieces all the vessels of gold which Solomon king of Israel had made in the temple of the Lord. And the Lord had said, and he carried away all Jerusalem, and all the princes, and all the mighty men of value, even 10,000 captives, and all the craftsmen and the smiths. None remained, save the poorest sort of the people of the land. And he carried away Jeroboam to Babylon, and the king's mother, and the king's wives, and his officers, and the mighty of the land, who carried he to captivity from Jerusalem to Babylon, and all the men and mighty, even 7,000, and craftsmen and smiths 1,000, all that was strong and a point for war. Even them the king of Babylon brought captive to Babylon. And the king of Babylon made Mattaniah, his father, brother, king in his stead, and charged his name to Zedekiah, was 21 1 year old when he began to reign, and he reigned 7 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Hamuel, and daughter of Jeremiah of Libnah. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that Jeroboam had done. For though the anger of the Lord, it came to pass in Jerusalem and Judah, until he had cast them out from his presence, that Jebedekiah rebelled against the king of Babylon. Let's go to chapter 25 and 1 through 23. I'm sorry about the butchering, but it may happen again. Alright, and it came to pass in the 9th year of his reign, in the 10th month, in the 10th day of the month, that Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came he, and all his host against Jerusalem, and pitched against it, and they built forts against it round about, and the city was besieged until the 11th year of King Zedekiah. And on the 9th day of the 4th month, the famine prevailed in the city, and there was no bread for the people of the land. And the city was broken up, and all the men of war fled by night by the way of the gate between the two walls, which is by the king's garden. Now the Chaldeans were against the city round about, and the king went the way towards the plain. And the army of the Chaldeans pursued after the king, and overtook him in the plains of Jericho. And all his armies were scattered from him. So they took the king, and brought him up to the king of Babylon, to Riblah, and they gave judgment upon him. And they slew the sons of Zechariah before his eyes, and put out the eyes of Zechariah, and bound him with feathers of brass, and carried him to Babylon. And in the 15th month, on the 7th day of the month, which is the 10th year of King Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, came Nebuzaradan, captain of the guard, a servant of the king of Babylon, to Jerusalem. And he burnt the house of the Lord, and the king's house, and all the house of Jerusalem, and every great man's house burnt he with fire. And all the army of the Chaldees that were with the captain of the guard broke down all the walls of Jerusalem round about. And the rest of the people that were left in the city, and the fugitives that fell away to the king of Babylon, with the raiment of the multitude, did Nebuchadnezzar, the captain of the guard, carry away. And the captain of the guard left of the poor of the land to be vine pressers and husbands, and the pillars of brass that were in the house of the Lord, and the brass and the basin sea that was in the house of the Lord, did the Chaldeans break in pieces, and carried the brass of them to Babylon, and the pots, and the shovels, and the snuffers, and the spoons, and all the vessels of brass wherewith they ministered took they away, and the fire pen, and the bowls, and such things as they were gold, and of silver, in silver, and captains of the guard took away. The two pillars, one sea, and the base which Solomon had made for the house of the Lord. The base of all these vessels was without weight, and weight of the one pillar was 18 cubits, and the caterpillar upon it was brass, and the weight of the caterpillar was 3 cubits, the height, and the weathering work and the pomegranates upon the caterpillar round about, and all of the brass. And like unto these had the second pillar with the weathering work. And the captain of the guard took Shemaiah the chief priest, and Zebekiah, and the second priest, and the third keepers of the door. And out of the city he took an officer that was set before the men of war, and the 5 men of them that were in the king's palace, which were found in the city, and the principal scribe of the host, which mustered the people of the land, and 60 men of the people of the land that were found in the city. And Nebuchadnezzar, captain of the guard, took these, and brought them to the king of Babylon in Rebah. And the king of Babylon smote them, and slew them at Rebah in the land of Hamath. So Judah was carried away out of their land. And as for the people that remained in the land of Judah, whom Nebuchadnezzar king of Babylon had left, even over them he made Gedaliah the son of Hakim, the son of Shepher, ruler. And when all the captains of the armies, they and their men, heard that the king of Babylon had made Gedaliah governor, there came to to Mizpah, even Ishmael the son of Nethiah, and Johanan the son of Koresh, and Sermiah the son of... Okay, let's go on down. And it goes on, and their men. There's too many of them, I'm butchering bad.